decide to rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
What is going on, everybody? Let me fix a few things here. Um, Hope everyone's doing well. It is the middle of the week, the middle, dead middle. Um, we have a very, 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 very deep topic to talk about today. Um, it is one of those topics I think many in the church, I use that term loosely, either skirt around, um, point blame to, or ignore altogether. It is one that we say we want to have a big voice in, but the voice that seems to be loudest about it does not actually address the people or the victims in the situation. Um, and I do consider the people doing the act victims, either victims of their own demise, victims of people that put them in the situation, victims of society telling them what to do, or victims of the devil. But I do consider them victims. On the other hand, there are a few people that participate in what we're going to talk about that have, like the Bible say, been given over to a depraved mind, and they just are the way they are, and they choose it willingly. Now, for those people, can they find redemption? That's only up to God and no one else. I don't know what their mindset is, but in this situation, we're going to be discussing what a history of wrongdoing in a very frowned upon issue looks like after redemption. Um, our interview Monday with my wife was really, really, really good for myriads of reasons, her and for people in the audience. And I'm hoping today's the same thing too. Um, I want to make sure I put a good groundwork under this because um, there are certain things I will be looking for, um, addressing when it pops up, and dealing with as well. Um, Blatant disrespect will not get you necessarily lit up like a Christmas tree, but it will get you expunged from the chat. I just want to make that abundantly clear. This is not a combative location. If you want to be combative, come back tomorrow. We'll fight. However, um, today you will be expunged so that we can get through the issue at hand. Good on that, I hope. So, with that being said, please welcome to the program my wife.
Good
Hello,
morning,
dear.
everyone. How are you all this morning?
So, we are going to have her. She wanted to share something out of a book she's been reading, and I'm going to have her do that. And then we're going to get into the beef briskets, meats, and potatoes of
Ah,
the topic today. So, go ahead.
so
Now, remember, share it, and then let me get to my questions. No expounding on it. Just let me get to the questions, and then you can expound on it after the question is asked.
okay.
Okay.
How many of you believe that God have a really, really, really sick sense of humor?
Well, it ain't sick. It's
Not
hilarious.
sick, but He has an amazing sense of humor. Let me reframe that. So I picked up the Be Still and Know book this morning, and it's so funny to me because my hope for in me sharing my story and being really transparent and vulnerable with you guys, I'm hoping you guys have the capacity to hold space. I think the church has lacked that. They've lost their humanity. And I'm hoping through this and through my sharing my story that we somehow find it and understand how necessary it is for us to remember that we are all the same. We struggle with the same things. Anyways, let me just read what I found that I found so funny. So the reading for today says, I am a God who heals. I heal broken bodies, broken minds, broken hearts, broken lives, and broken relationships. My very presence has immense healing powers. You cannot live close to me without experiencing some degree of healing. However, it is also true that you have not because you ask not. You receive the healing that flows naturally from my presence, whether you seek it or not. But there is more, much more available to those who ask. The first step in receiving healing is to live ever so close to me. The benefits of this practice are too numerous to list. As you grow more and more intimate with me, I reveal my will to you more directly. When the timing is right, I prompt you to ask for healing of some brokenness in you or in another person. The healing may be instantaneous or it may be a process. That is up to me. Your part is to trust me fully and to thank me for the restoration that has begun. I rarely heal all the brokenness in a person's life. Even my servant Paul was told, my grace is sufficient for you, when he sought healing for the thorn in his flesh. Nonetheless, much healing is available to those whose lives are intimately interwoven with mine. Ask and you will receive.
Okay. I'm going to ask then, so I better receive. Um, you said it. I'm just going by the book you read. Okay.
Faith it out, man. Faith it out.
Yeah. We're going to get into an area of discussion, and for people trying to want to know why I'm delaying it, two reasons. Saying certain terms at the beginning of a podcast puts the algorithm in a funk, and I don't want anything to stop the reach of this by my doing. So I'm doing my part. So it's been 7 minutes. So it's perfect time now. And this is the topic, and this is specifically, majority of it is for women, secondarily for men, and tertiary for the church. So you have been through some things in your life that have created some decision to be made for you and also some by you when it comes to the topic of abortion.
Yeah.
And I want you to flesh out for me, at least on the onset, your history with it and your current stance with it, if you don't mind.
Well, that's the whole show. Okay.
Meaning, and let me narrow it down a little more.
Okay.
Your stance on it now, meaning how you view it now, and whether or not it took place in your life. I'm not asking the deeping into it yet, but did it ever take place in your life, and what's the situation with your mindset about it now?
Okay, so oh Lord, words. Okay, so any discomfort you guys sense in this is because I wrestle still with forgiveness. Like, you have to understand the person who I was before. I thank God I'm no longer. I don't live in that house anymore. Okay. My first experience with abortion happened when I was, I think, 16 years old. I had just started going to a Bible school. And now, remember from our conversation on Monday, my history and my brokenness stems from my molestation as a young child. Okay. The lack of value I had from myself and for life, all of it stemmed from that brokenness. Okay. I didn't even know I was pregnant. I was so naive about sex. I was naive about the effects of unprotected sex. I did not know any, I didn't have knowledge. Okay. I just know that this is something that happens. And when I say something that happens as a result of sex, right? Um, my mom was the first person to recognize that I was, and she was the one to take me to the clinic. Because at 16, an unwed mother in a poverty, or I don't want to say it, poverty mindset, circumstances, borderline poverty or poverty, that's a whole different scale or metric. So I thought we were going to the doctor to get a checkup, right? And so I get in there and they tell me strip and lie down on the bed and put my feet up in the stirrups. And trying to understand, well, what's going on. So I asked my mom, and she's like, just be quiet. You want to be 16 without 16 and pregnant without a baby father, without being married. You're not even finished with your schooling, right? Yeah. And so the doctor came in and asked, the regular questions. When was your last period? That kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I answer his questions. And then he said, okay, didn't explain what he was doing. And so the procedure started, and the procedure after a while ended. And it felt like this choice was made for me. Because remember, I grew up in the church and I do believe the scripture. I was really naive about the scriptures, right? That I thought the same way I believed the scriptures, other people believed it. And so when I realized that I facilitated or was part of Thou Shalt Not Kill, something broke in me. Um, something broke. And that value for life, that thing that we all should have, didn't exist. It was like a switch was flipped and it just turned off. Now remember, my mom is not a really emotional person, so we've never spoken about it. We never touched it after it happened. We didn't talk at all about it. It was just something that happened. She took care of it. She protected me in her way. And I totally understand the desperation she felt as a mother trying to raise these kids without a father in the picture, or at least anyone who meant anything of value and wanting to give me a chance at life, without the burden of a child that I was in no way prepared to handle. But from my end, it felt like choice was taken. Like I would not have chosen to sin against God like that. I feel like. So when that happened and that switch flipped, now it just reinforced for me that now not only does my life not matter, but life in general. That inconvenient thing. So yeah, that was my first.
And what is your view of abortion now?
Oh God, I think it's heartbreaking. You never leave that space unscathed. Your life is forever touched by that. Forever touched by that. Um, you still, live your life. You still do the things you have to do. You still go to work. You still do the things that um, make up your life. But in the background, there's loss, there's heartbreak, there's sadness, there's so much guilt, shame, uh, unworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I say, that switch that flipped, that thing that should generally guide us was no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it is seen by you as an abhorrent thing at this moment.
At this moment, yeah, I don't think people understand the ramifications of it. I mean, how much years later, and I still feel deep heartbreak. Heartbreak. Yeah.
So, with that being the first time it happened, and you talk about that switch going off, um, from the conversation Monday, you encountered multiple situations where you were taken advantage of, and it created in you this idea of lack of self worth and this um, not really caring what happened or didn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, were there more situations where you did have the choice and chose to the negative, or like meaning
Yeah.
that you picked that option instead of life?
That became my contraceptive because, I mean, sex is like a taboo topic in church, right?
Hmm.
On sex outside of marriage is even worse. Um, I think what a lot of people don't understand is, can I say this? I'm gonna say this. Okay. Whether the church realizes it or not, and when I say the church, I mean the corporate, the
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 representation we
construct,
see today. Yeah.
the construct that men came up with, okay, contributes to that industry. The way they shame and guilt the woman, the girl, the way some in authority abuse it and then cast aside the girl, the way they paint the picture of the slut, the whore, the promiscuous, they never accept that the judgment and the condemnation and the shame and the guilt that their words heap on the girl or the woman in this picture. Doesn't They don't understand how it drives your decisions, right? And after a while, it wasn't so much about the church driving my decisions. It was me just not wanting the responsibility of my actions.
Hmm.
I just wanted to continue living, and that was a convenient way to continue living. But remember, I lived to die, and
Right.
death was um, the design. Okay, so that's what I want to touch. Death was the design. Now we have to remember that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus says, I have come so that you may have life and have it more abundantly, right? And when you're in that phase of death, when you're in that tunnel and it surrounds you, that's the only option, okay, to keep moving forward. You're not living. I mean, it's not healthy. You're not whole. You're definitely not healed. And you're not looking for that.
Hmm.
You're just moving from point to point to point, right? And taking care of the inconveniences as they happen. At least for me, I could speak about me. So, yeah. Um,
Um, I want to touch on something real quick, and that is the messaging by, and people who follow this platform understand when I say church and I put it in quotations what I mean, because the current iteration of what they call the church is as far away from the model as you can get. It's nothing close to what is described in the word. Um, the hierarchies that they've established is not listed in the word whatsoever. They want to take these positions and lord them over people when the word directly talks about this, they're stewards over the body. And as a steward, you're supposed to take care of, not lord over. That's God's job, not the pastor's. And I think what we become is this corporation where people just talk about stuff and they just randomly do things. They just decide, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it. And not, there's no consulting of God at all in this. Um, and so what you encounter is what we consider the church today is not the church in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And to your point about contributing to the industry, um, when tried to talk about it, they come up with this excuse about the we make the decision for you, kind of like the idea that um, you encounter with your mother. Um, this I tell you what to do because I care, but the care does not seem to reflect in the action that they're asking you to participate in.
no.
Um, as far as the shaming, I completely agree that they do that often and they don't hold anyone else responsible for the other equation, almost as though that there wasn't anybody else involved in making the child. It's kind of interesting that that happens as well. But I also want to touch on this statement you made about um, the guilt, um, because I think it's important to recognize something, and I know that you and I have had conversation about the letting go of that. Um, this concept of the holding on to it. Why do you think you have this, best way to phrase this? Why do you feel you have this inability to believe? That's the best word, believe. Believe God when He tells you when you are in Him, you are forgiven for all your sins. And in holding on to this guilt, you are negating that statement He's made by you. Why do you think that you're having a hard time in accepting something that the God of the universe tells you versus what man has been telling you for the duration of your life? Is there a thing you can explain that?
I think for me, it is, ooh, um, thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
I violated that commandment.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that became a part of my life, because I had multiple abortions. Um, at at some point, it became my choice, my brokenness, my running away or escaping responsibility, escaping the inconvenience of the unplanned pregnancies. Um, I just wanted to continue living my life, like just continue, just continue living my life. Now remember, I had left the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
I turned my back on God. I turned my back and I ran headlong into the world. So why would life matter? My life didn't matter. Why would this little life matter? It doesn't, or it didn't. Um, so to continue on my selfish part, my wayward part, when that switch flipped, life just didn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was young, I was working independent, making my own money. I just wanted to continue living my life. And I believe that in that, there's a layer of protectiveness as well as self destruction that's so tightly interwoven into that decision. Yeah.
But you didn't answer the question, so I'm going to ask it again.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
I hear that. I hear that.
Sorry.
I'm gonna ask
I'm
you
sorry, guys.
one
My
more time.
son's getting ready to go to church, to
Work,
work.
work. So I'm gonna ask it one more time. One more time. I want you to really listen to the question itself. Okay. The
Sorry
question
about
is
the distraction, guys.
that they'll be fine. Listen to the question carefully and understand why the distraction is there. So ignore the distraction.
Easier said
Ignore
than
the
done,
dis-
Mr. Brown.
ignore the distraction. Um, why do you have such a difficulty accepting what Christ said about your past and your sin and continue to hold on to this idea of guilt? Guilt means that you do not accept what he says. Guilt means that you are still holding on to something he said he forgave. Guilt it should be the catalyst to jump into forgiveness, not a anchor to hold you back. But you seem to be holding the guilt as an anchor of holding you back, and this explains why you're unwilling to jump into what he's called you into, because you still feel what he says, and here's the word, it's pivotal, is a lie. That's what you believe. You believe it's a lie. I'll give you some time to clarify. Hey, hear what I'm going to
Just
do. Hold on.
okay.
I'm going to
Mhm.
give you some time to shut down the activity and tell them where to pass, because eventually I'll come upstairs and do it myself if it's not handled, because they know better. They know
Yeah,
better.
they
And
know
if I
better.
have to come upstairs, I'll do it. I just want, so go ahead and tell them where to pass through and not to pass through the office anymore.
Are you going to
And
mute me?
I'll give you, I'll just take you off the screen for a minute. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sometimes children, in their haste to do something, forget that they are not the center of the world. Anyway, um, looks like she's back. Let's try this again. Okay. So
I put that down
I
too. Then
understand the guilt. I understand the
mhm.
guilt, and I get it. And it should be the catalyst for things, but not what's it's been holding you back.
My mic is muted.
Yeah, I know, because of King.
Ping back in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to our real world, people. What you hear downstairs with me, it's quiet and calm. It's chaos throughout the rest of the house. Go ahead and shout at him to
I
tell him
have
to
to go
stop.
and
Go
shut
ahead.
him down.
Life, people, life. Now, what I see this as is a distraction by Satan to make sure she does not get past this point. So I'm going to depend on y'all. I'm going to depend on y'all to also be patient the same way I have to be patient. This is pivotal. Okay. Okay. Now,
Okay.
um,
Now it's dark.
That's okay. It'll come back.
Okay.
See?
Okay.
There it is. Now, I understand why all the distractions are happening because this is a turning point that you have to eventually encounter. This is him, the same way you read in the beginning. You read it. You decided to read it, not me. I didn't pick that. That was all you.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't be blamed for nothing after this point. This is all her and God. I am just a facilitator. In any case, um,
You asked me once, why do I feel my forgiving myself is necessary if God has forgiven us?
that
Right?
was forever ago. Yes. But I'm talking about the question I asked now.
I know, and I'm
Hmm.
getting to it.
Okay.
Um,
Now remember, if you don't get to it, I'll ask it again, just so you know. Okay, go ahead.
okay. So guilt is a funny thing. Like it's not that I'm holding on to it, not wanting to let go. It creeps up and it shows up when you least expect it.
Mhm.
Like I thought I had given all of this to God. I had confessed it, I had released it, I had laid it at the foot of the cross, and then I ran into it like uh, one of those test dummies hitting the wall at 180 miles an hour. And then I got angry with God because I'm like, why are you bringing this back again? I thought you forgave me. I thought you said when you forgive someone, you forgive them as far as the east is from the west. So why is this thing coming up again? Why is this feeling of guilt and shame coming again when you said you forgave me? I
Mhm.
thought Jesus' blood covered it,
Mhm.
right? And when I hit that wall 4 years ago, instead of pressing into what God wanted to do
You
in
ran.
me, I ran from Him. And I've been running from not just the call, like, I don't even consider the call, I run from God because that thing felt so fresh. It felt so fresh, so weighty, so heavy. And I got mad at having to encounter it again.
Mhm.
But before that, man, I was, you know, being obedient and speaking at women conferences. I remember just before I hit that wall, I had just in obedience spoken at a woman's retreat. And I remember Jesus saying, if you were just the one person I had to take the cross for, I would take it all over again. And so I was like, okay, well, if only one woman gives her life to Jesus from my obedience of speaking what you gave me to give to them, then that one person is enough.
Mhm.
Well, when I finished speaking, one woman got baptized and another woman gave her life to Jesus, and I just wept because he showed me in real time that what I was doing mattered to him,
Mhm.
mattered to kingdom. And so I was on a high, like I was so, yes, God, just, give me opportunity to just keep being obedient. And then I hit that wall and I got so mad at him and I turned away because I felt the guilt and the shame and the condemnation sit on my shoulder like the heaviest cloak ever. And that that trust, that faith that I had been walking in got shaken. The
Mhm.
foundations of it got shaken. So yeah.
So, um, I'm going to point out some things that you may have glossed over. Okay.
Gosh.
Um, I'm going to read for you something um, in Romans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. in chapter 6, verse 3 and onward. Do you not know that as many of us were baptized into Christ, were baptized into his death? Therefore, we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we should walk in newness of life. For if we have been united together in his likeness of his death, certainly we will also be, we shall be in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin. Now, you might not think this is, but disbelief is sin.
Yes.
Um, now, if we died, for he died, for he who has died has been freed from sin. Now, if we died with Christ, we believe we should also live with him, knowing that Christ, having been raised from the dead, dies no more. Death no longer has dominion over him. For the death he died to sin once for all. But the life he lives to God. Therefore, you also reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus our Lord. Our biggest issue, and seemingly yours, is we think that we control the blood of Christ. We believe we control when it's applied, when it's not applied, why it isn't applied, how come it didn't get applied. We think we picked that up. Instead of saying what he said and acknowledging what he said, which was, it is finished. If it's finished, and he's the one that finished it, how do we get to take that idea and say, not right now, it's not finished? My guilt says it's not fully finished. How did we get the mantle of godhood to tell God that his work isn't done? Or is it our duty to thank him in the middle of our guilt that it is done, and this, what I'm feeling, is not the truth? Because it's not the truth if we do believe that God said he did what he did. So now you have to ask yourself, did he do what he did? Is it a yes or no question? Yes. Did he do what he did? Did he die
Yes.
once for all? Okay. Is it done?
Yes.
Does my feelings about what I think about myself dictate whether it's done or not?
No.
Okay. Are my sins forgiven if I'm in Christ?
Yes.
Okay. So my job is not to question that, it's to thank him for that. As soon as that guilt pops up, it's a thank you, this isn't the truth. The instant you open that door and say, well, you have just given footholds to the enemy in the face of something that he can't have a foothold in. Make that one make sense. The second thing you said about at that conference, if one were brought to Christ, but what if the one was you? What if that conference wasn't about them? What if the one person he was trying to reach in all of that was you? He's been trying to get to you for forever. And it's not that you're not saved, it's you. The weird thing is this: you almost refuse to acknowledge what he's actually done, but want to participate in the done work, constantly questioning the done work.
I think what a lot of us, and this is not only in taking captive your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
This also stems in default settings that were programmed way before,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our natural tendency when we hit something hard or we hit something that we recognize that has the ability to make us blink.
Mm-hmm.
that default setting doesn't just disappear because I'm a Christian or
Mm-hmm.
because I choose to follow Jesus
Mm-hmm.
or because my heart wants to obey him and do what he's called me to, but I still have these default settings that needs to be reprogrammed,
No,
right?
no, they don't. No, they don't. Stop right there. They don't need to be reprogrammed.
Well, why does it feel like
Reprogramming means they have a purpose. They don't have a purpose to be used anymore. They're dead.
mm,
They are dead. They can't be used anymore. He never asked you to be reformed and refitted. He told you this in the wineskins. I'm not going to put anything new in old wineskins because it'll just bust. I can't
yeah,
graft new clothing into old clothing because it will not work. It is brand new. This concept of repair and fix and put back to, he never said he would do that with us. He would kill us. We are supposed to die. That's our task is death. Self dies, not rebuild, not fixed, not repaired, dead. And as it's being killed, and if it's dead, it cannot be used anymore for his purposes.
I think that
It cannot be
touches.
relied on.
I think a lot of that is in a lack of understanding how it works,
Okay, I'll give you
and
an
it
easy
shouldn't
way.
be so simple.
It is simple, and I'll tell you how simple it is, and it'll make you understand it right away. So simple. And that is it because we've complicated God. We've overcomplicated God.
Yeah,
And and you know what the biggest reason is? Because we don't trust him. We do not trust his word. If he told us something, we don't want to take it as true. That can't be true because that's too easy. But if he is the God of the universe, right? If he isn't, should anything be difficult for him? It's not difficult, right? So it should be easy. So if it's easy for him, why is it so difficult for us to believe it's easy for him?
because we can't help ourselves.
But you can
There
by
has
dying, by
I
dying.
Marlon.
Listen carefully to listen to me. Listen. And you're still trying to fight the idea by bringing in your human reasoning to this argument. I need you to listen, dump what you think you know, and listen to what the word says. This is what the word says. This is not me. This is not somebody in the pulpit talking for years about what they think. This is what the word says. And as the word says it, if we believe it comes from God, it's not me telling you this. I just read it to you. Reckon yourselves to be dead to sin. We listened to Watchman Nee, and he broke it down the best possible way I could ever, and I'll reuse his analogy of how to do it. If you have a ledger, okay, and you need to figure out how much money you have to reconcile your ledger to the amount of money you have. You can lie and say that you have less than you or you have more, but when you bring the cash to the table, there is a definite amount of cash that you have. I can wish I have $100, but in the actuality of things, I only have 5. And if I were to go and try and reconcile what I have to what I have on my books, it will not match up. We have to reckon ourselves dead. This is the renewing of the mindset. But the renewing of the mind isn't a practice of acting like it. It's a practice of acknowledging it because we didn't do it. What we like to do is try to go to a place where I try to make it make sense. You can't make it make sense. It is impossible to make it make sense. There is no making sense of it. He said, it is done. It is done. Take, for instance, your children. Best analogy I can give you. KJ in particular. we'll use the master himself. There are things he does not get yet. Am I right? It
Right.
doesn't make sense to him. But if I tell him that's the way it is, you know what KJ does? Okay.
Okay.
Does he go back and say, okay, Dad, but Dad, listen. Habada, 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 hoopity heap. And does he do that? No. It's okay. He asked us to be just like children. And if you trust Pops, and Pops is never wrong, It should just be okay. And when somebody outside comes and say, "Well, your dad doesn't love you," you could look at that person and say, "Okay, if if you say so, but wait a minute, you live with my dad? No? Oh, you don't? Ah, I didn't think so. Guess who does? Me. Guess who I don't have to listen to? You. That's guilt coming to your door. If he did say you're set free and you're free indeed, how in the world do you get to tell him, no, I'm not? Because I remember what I did. And he's telling me, but didn't I tell you that I erased it? How did you go find something? So you obviously didn't give it to me. If you gave it to me, it would be gone. But you didn't give it to me. You gave it to somebody else. So
Mama,
here's
the
the.
part the part of it I don't okay. I'm not reasoning it, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Flesh
The
it out.
part of it that we
You.
don't we okay, I
Mm-hmm.
have struggled with,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it continues to be a struggle, is God is supposed to be our father,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have an earthly father, and when our earthly fathers do not fulfill the role
Mm-hmm.
that they were given,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult to trust God coming into that space as our father.
Mm-hmm. But he's not trying
At
to be
least
your earthly
for
father.
me. I know he's not trying to be my earthly father.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? First, you have the understanding of the father-child role.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have that flesh example from your earthly parents or your earthly father, how are you supposed to recognize the role in the spiritual?
Okay. You didn't have one, right? But if you did have one, he was very aloof.
And
I
everyone that consequently showed up continued
Were
to,
horrible. Right.
yeah.
Okay, I hear you. I didn't have one but for 3 years, technically, that I could remember from 4 to 7. I remember Pops around 4 years old. That's about it. But remember, maybe 2 years of that. That's all I had was 2 years with my dad. Two. Everything else was somebody else telling me about what he was. But the 2 years, I could kind of say, okay, I could see it. And I have the fondest memories of him, but I did not have an example of what it was to be a father. I didn't have an example of any. In fact, the people that did come around were not the best fathers either. So I understand. But he's not asking me to look at him the way I look at an earthly father. He never has. It is a new thing altogether. And the more we look to him to exemplify something we didn't have, the more scrutiny you put him under that he's not worthy of. And I understand that you have this location that you're trying to reconcile what you've been experiencing on earth versus what he's offering you in heaven. But the more you try to cross those two worlds, the more confusion you're going to find because he's nothing like our earthly father.
And
In fact, they are just a mild archetype to what he is. He even said so. If your father knows how to give you good things on earth here, imagine what your heavenly father can give you. But what he's never done is done ill to you, right? And I
no.
think what you've associated with God is this: if that's the truth, why did I experience this, and this? And the answer is very simple. Again, very simple. You live in a fallen world.
Well, I don't question why I experienced the things or why I made the choices anymore the way I did. I mean, why not
No, no,
me?
not you. Not you. We're not talking about you. We're talking about your view of fathers.
Mm.
We're talking about your view of fathers. Now, there are tons of things that you have not worked out. I get that. And there are tons of things that I, as a husband, been trying to help you to work through. Um, but the one thing I cannot bring you to is the acceptance of what God's done. I can't bring you to that point. I can show you, but I can't bring you to that point.
I
But
think
when the reconciling happens, this is what will eventually take place, and it will be just like the switch that went off when that first event happened. That switch will go off, And here's where the switch happens. This earth that we live in here, this plane that we live in right now, is built to distract us. That's its entire purpose, is to distract. And its basic and most important distraction is to distract us from what was done on the cross. People don't want to admit that the thing that was done on the cross is astronomical. It is huge. It is not just, oh, Jesus died for my sins. It is a whole new world that we are brought into that is counter to the one we live in here. Completely different. In every facet different. The guilt that we associate in this world is not a part of that world. The shame we have in this world is not a part of that world. Our history in this world is not seen in that world. But we keep trying to stand in the middle of seeing ourselves how we were in this world and try to superimpose it on his. And the two will never work. He's called you to do something. And in the process of calling you to do something, you have to reckon yourself dead to what he took you from. You're having a difficult time doing that because you still feel that it outweighs, and you may not want to admit this, but this is the truth based on what you've said and how you behave. You have reckoned your old life more powerful than the cross. That's just factual. Because if your old life wasn't more powerful than the cross, it wouldn't be popping up as guilt. The cross has less potency in your life than your guilt. And I need you to marinate on that to see exactly why you consider what you have done more powerful than what Christ did on the cross. Now, if that's a problem for you to swallow, it should be, because it's impossible for your sin to be stronger than the cross. It can't be. And if it can't be, then you're listening to a lie.
I think a thought just popped in my head. Well, if I don't have that, what do I have?
You don't have what?
If I don't have that, as you're saying, and as the scripture says, we have to reckon, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that reckoning is where faithing steps in.
Mm-hmm.
And it steps in the way of once and for all accepting that the old me is gone, the new me is here, and walking in that truth.
Mm-hmm.
Accepting that truth.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we are creatures of habit and pattern.
You were.
I were. Oh.
And this is remember I kept telling you about the way we speak.
Yes.
And the more we speak about something, the more we're going to believe it.
Yeah.
And people that say, I'm a born again sinner. The more I think like that, the more I'll be a sinner. Hold on. Gotcha. The more I'll be a sinner. I'll keep doing what I'm doing because I see myself as what I was. I'm not new. I'm a born again sinner. How you pulling that off? How exactly are you born again, not born again? You keep saying that I have to train myself. The only thing you have to train yourself to do, if you want to call it that, is to repeat the truth.
Accept.
Repeat the truth. It is finished. I don't care what the devil has been told by to us as a man that roams the earth back and forth, roaring lion, accuser of the brethren, day in, day out. He will constantly bring stuff about us that in our old man is true. Yes, that's because he's not lying that's who we were, but he'll present it as though we are. That's where the lie kicks in. That's why he's the father of lies. That's who you are. And you're like, were. Let me adjust your English real quick. That's who I was. Not not who I am, was. So let me get that one first out the way. So whatever you're bringing to me that you think you have on me, that was me. It is no longer me. So I don't have to listen to you. But you know what I can do is I can thank God for what he's done. The only training you could ever really need is to admit the truth. And the truth is, God did it. Now, this new man and the walking in the new man has to have an acknowledgement somewhere. You have to acknowledge that you're in the new man. And you have to. If you can't do that, then did you really pick up what he told you to pick up? Now, I don't doubt that you've picked it up, but I think you've given into the idea that Satan has planted in your mind more than you've given into the truth about what Christ did. Now, whether you believe it or not, he still did it. Whether you acknowledge it or not, he still did it.
Yeah.
The truth still remains true whether you believe it or not. And to the end of time, when you expire, it's not going to change what God did, and it's not going to change the life he offered. None of that's going to be affected by your inability to listen and to follow. The only person you're doing damage to is you, not him, not his walk, you. If you believe God is who he is, if you believe that God did what he said he did, then there is no reason to listen to what you were. None. What I was is what I was. That's true. Who I am, though, is hid in Christ. My question to you is this: abortion, molestation, promiscuity, you name it. All of that was. What you are now is alive to God in Christ Jesus our Lord. Therefore, do not let sin reign in your mortal body that you should obey its lusts. Don't present your members as instruments of unrighteousness, including your mind. So if that's the case, then you should, by all metrics, associate yourself with the truth. The truth of the matter is, I am saved because I believe that Christ did this on my behalf, and I accept that. So when he sends you out to say something, it is not so much about the topic or how well you can let it flow out. It's the context of where you're talking from. But if you're going to speak to people from the idea, well, I don't know if I'm really forgiven for the past things that I still have guilt, then you're not preaching to them from a position of security. That's an insecure position. The secure position is knowing that Christ did what he did, and it is done, and I'm in it. And there's nothing anybody can tell me any different because I don't listen to anybody but Christ. And if Christ told me that, they ain't nobody. They're not bigger than Christ. They're not bigger than anybody that's out there. I'm following the biggest person out there. And until he tells me differently, and he's not saying anything different, it can't be a falsehood. Now, you are in a unique position, and I'll tell you why. Because just like with Paul, just like with Peter, just like with John, just like with any of the older people in the book, they all had a history. All of them had a history. None bigger than Paul, though, I think, in my estimation, to overcome. Can you imagine this? Think of it this way. Paul was known throughout the entirety of the region that he traversed as a murderer. A murderer of the people that he is now trying to talk to about the thing that he said he didn't believe. now, hear me out. Everybody that saw Paul first saw him as, wait a minute, ain't you the same dude that was locking us up, beating us, and killing us just like last week? Wasn't that you? Didn't we just hear about you going through our whole city and taking out those that believed and walked in the way? Wasn't that you? Now imagine what he had to tell people. Imagine. You think he'd go back and say, yeah, you're right. That was no. He just preached the gospel. He acknowledged that that's who he was, but he never harped on it again. He never explained it. He never tried to convince nobody. He just spoke the gospel. Paul, if anybody had reason to hold on to guilt, it would have been Paul. He murdered people. You said you murdered somebody, right? Thou shalt not kill. Paul did it by the hundreds. Hundreds. He incarcerated hundreds. And in weeks after encountering Christ, all of that changed. All of it. And it wasn't changed because Paul was this amazing individual. No, no, no. It changed because he accepted something very pivotal. Christ did it. And he believed it, and it became true to him to the point where nothing of his past affected him. In fact, he would go to prison just like he would put people in for the sake of Christ. At some point, babe, you have to let that go. Yeah, it is who you were. Yeah, it is what you did. Fully understand. I get it. And the devil will constantly tell you, remember that, remember this. How could God love you in the middle of all that? And you remember when you did this, remember all that. You remember, you remember, you remember. And you're supposed to tell him, bro, I get it. I know. Yeah, I did. I acknowledge all that stuff. True, that was me. But my father told me it's done. I don't have guilt over it. I could have much guilt over the things I've done. I don't have guilt over it. I acknowledge what it was, and I'm no longer there. He's called you to speak to women, specifically, I believe, based on the kinds of people he's brought into your hemisphere. But he's called you to talk to them about one very important thing that he's trying to get through to you first. And that is the acceptance of the things he's done on your behalf. And I think that's the biggest lesson that you're trying to avoid learning. Because in some ways, and this might sound bad, but in some ways, I think the holding of that over you, you feel that is justified. I think you believe that's justified. You deserve to have this held over your head. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I had in conversation yesterday with someone, I said that when it was all said and done, my doctors told me I would never be able to have kids. And I immediately accepted that it was God's judgment for my lack of reverence for life. And I remembered saying, well, it's what I deserve, because I was so callous about life. Didn't see any value in it. So, I just like, it is what it is, I deserve this because I didn't care. So I felt like it was fear, it was a fear
Exchange.
result.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after hearing that I wouldn't be able to have kids, I remember I had finished working and I went to the beach and I was by myself. It was a really nice afternoon. I think it was a Friday evening, and there was no one on the beach. And the sun was setting. I was in the water. And I remember seeing dolphins jumping. It was like three of them jumping as the sun was setting. I mean, it was so picturesque. And I remember I remember saying to God, that I was sorry for not valuing life. And I remembered making a promise saying, any sons that he had given me, or any sons that he would give me, I would make sure to raise to be men who will bring many sons to glory. And I left it at that. But God is such a God of specificity. Like our words have to be just as specific as his. His communication is clear. And so when I finally did become pregnant after a couple of years of, accepting that I would never be able to have kids, lo and behold, Caleb comes along. And my first reaction was, I have to get back to Trinidad because I don't want to be tied to this man. And to me, Caleb was an anchor to this man. And I tried to hide the fact that I realized I was pregnant. And it just so happened that the same day I found out I was pregnant, he bought a test for me. I said, hey, I left something in the bathroom for you. I'm like, what? Go in the bathroom and find a pregnancy test. And I wasn't even thinking along the lines of deception or anything. I just peed on the stick. And of course, the results popped up. And when I showed it to him, you know, he's like, oh. And I didn't realize that he was paying such close attention to my period and all that stuff. Like, I thought he just didn't care, He's just this aloof person. He's not paying attention. I could get one by him. And so when there was no more hiding the fact that I was pregnant, he kept me in the US way past my first trimester. So there was no getting rid of the baby anymore. No option to get rid of the tie to him. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a mom. And I just accepted that. So I went back to Trinidad. And it's so funny. Like, even in all of that, God showed up. I remember going to get my hair done. And I stopped this taxi. It's a Rasta man. I've never seen him before. And he sat in his car and told him where I wanted to go. And as we got closer to my destination, I pulled out my money to pay him. And he said, no, keep that for the youth man in your belly. And I was just kind of like, huh? Because nobody knew I was pregnant yet. I wasn't showing. And he said, keep that for that youth man in your belly. I was like, okay. It's like, yeah, that youth man going to be your protector for the rest of your life. Now I want to jump out this man's car so fast, this car couldn't stop fast enough for me to get out of it because that was so scary, right? And just like, how he knew I pregnant? Like, this was just, speechless. And when I looked up the meaning of Caleb's name, it means the bold dog, the protector. I didn't even know I was pregnant with a boy until I got back to the States. And when it was a boy, I was like, oh my gosh, like what was that? And I believe it was the beginning of God's redemption,
You read something in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
What did it say about the healing? Sometimes it happens what? Right away.
It's a process.
And sometimes it's a process, right? So hear me out. You've had four boys now.
Specificity.
You've had four boys. And ironically, the most difficult one of them, without you, God found.
Yeah.
And all of them, even if they're struggling to find their faith in full, they're still finding their faith. It's not like they're not accomplishing that. And it's not that you're not fulfilling that duty of making sure they know. This is part of Him helping you fulfill your own promise to Him. Because you can't really fulfill that promise without Him.
No.
So here's the big question. If guilt was part of His plan, would He honor anything? He wouldn't.
He owes me nothing.
He owes Him, but He still did it. Why? Because
Yes.
He's faithful to Himself, not to you, not to anything else, to Himself. He is faithful to Himself. And when He told you that His life is life indeed, that statement will be true whether you believe it or I believe it or not. It is still true. And
Yeah.
it will have its own effect whether we believe it or not. Even you just read it. In His life, there's some healing that just naturally happened, right? I mean, you're reading the stuff, but you're not really reading it. And that is a factual thing because in His life is healing, and that's natural to His nature. But B, knowing it happens and acknowledging it happens are two different things. It's two different things. One's internalized, one's just happenstance. This whole guilt idea, and this is for anybody listening, this whole guilt idea is a natural way that the devil uses to keep you from accepting what Christ has done. But once you see what Christ has done, the old you has no more efficacy because it is no longer in play. You can believe the lie that it is, but the truth is it's not. It's simply not in play. And the longer you keep it mentally in play, it'll keep you from doing what He's told you to do. And your ministry to women is too pivotal to the kingdom for you to be wasting time listening to the devil who's simply trying to keep other women from getting to you, to God. You have to start learning for yourself that this is pivotal. This walk right now, this step that you have to take next, if you really believe that you're hoping for even just one woman to come to the knowledge of Christ, it has to be you first. It has to be you first.
Well, I thought I had. I'm learning this morning that I really have superimposed my idea over what God says, and well, it's not really working right now. Trying to make light of a heavy situation, but no, I'm glaring the truth in the face right now with regards to walking in the authority of what freedom
Is.
means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's that step is like so soul shaking.
And it should be.
It's soul shaking. Like
It
I
should
feel
be.
tremors in my spirit right now because
Kids.
our children wake up and then they're moving, but they're not awake.
Aware. Yeah. Shells, zombified.
But no, yeah, I think that's where the step from this point forward is walking in the acceptance of what God did, finally accepting it, and walking in the authority that it gives us to take each step in freedom with no looking back.
Period. Period. I've
You
never
know,
been able to. I've never been able to walk forward looking back. It's always difficult.
somebody once told me, I really, this person annoys me, but you live in the past a lot, Bianca. And I immediately rejected that. But ever since he said that, it's stuck. And I'm recognizing now that it is the truth, even though it came from someone who I didn't want to hear it from. It is the truth that I not so much live in the past, but for some reason, it's like disbelief. Again, disbelief. I can't believe that he finds me worthy.
He doesn't. He finds himself worthy. Listen to me again. He finds himself worthy, which is why your past doesn't matter. This is the best part, and this is the part I want you to really get, because I know that mantra has been floating around the church for forever, that he found me worthy. Let's get this straight. We ain't worthy. We
Yeah,
never will
that's
be
the
worthy. We are not
that
worth
is
saving.
so the truth.
Okay? You're not worthy. I want everybody to get this. When you said you're filthy rags, garbage, that's what we are. We are not worthy.
Yeah,
But he does find himself worthy, and love compels him to save his creation. That was all that compelled him, not our actions, not who we are, nothing. His work,
nothing about us compels
nothing
him
about
to
us.
move on
No,
our behalf.
no. However, however, because love compelled him, he makes us worthy by putting
Spirit
us in someone who is worthy.
is worthy.
And because we are put in someone who is worthy, by proxy, we become worthy, but not because of us, which is why we don't put ourselves first, but because of him. Every turn in the word tells you to point to his righteousness. He is the cloak, he is the covering, he is our representation. It's always about him. It's never been about us. Not the church wants you to think it's about us. We are and we get screw you. Literally screw you. You are worthy, I am worthy of hell. Point blank, period. Christ isn't, which is why he asked you to die to self, because that's the only worth you have is death. But in that death, resurrected to Christ.
There's a joy that's bubbling up inside of me. Like it feels it reminds me of it reminds me of seeing everything new. It feels like new. It feels um it's just there.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Now, now, with it being there, remember that and remind yourself that this is true. Not the other thing. This is. Every time the thought of a guilt thing pops up, remember when, okay, dude, I remember. Yeah. And that's like telling me, you remember what you ate yesterday? I do remember what I ate yesterday. I'm not eating it now, dummy. Like what are you talking about? Like you're talking to me about something I don't have anymore and expecting me to feel bad for having it. I don't have it. What are you talking about, you clown?
it's
And this is
like it's
exactly how you address him.
it's like finally being able to spit in the face of all the things, all the lies, the doubts, the unworthiness, all that feeling,
It's
all
all
that
gone.
is like it's been shed like one by one being we're supposed to put on the armor, right? But
Can't put it on over
This
old clothes.
well, no, you can't.
Eh,
You can't put it
You
on
gotta
over the
strip.
shell.
You
You
gotta
can't.
strip. You
Yeah,
gotta strip.
yeah.
You gotta strip.
Oh,
You gotta strip.
yeah. I think in this moment, it's the lightest I've felt in years because there's a, you know, I always hear people saying, just walk in your authority, and I don't think people understand that if you don't get and fully understand God in who He is and what Jesus did, if you don't fully recognize it and take ownership of it, it will always be trying to make new wine in an old wineskin.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
That is precisely the case.
that is. Oh my gosh, so fruitless. I wasted so much time. Lord, please forgive me.
He has. Okay. It's acknowledging that you did and just move on.
Yeah,
Now, now, if he's directed you, follow.
faith it out.
Just walk. Just start walking.
Faith it out. It
If he's
makes it
already,
makes it makes accepting the fact that the things that I went through really wasn't for me. It was for me in how he showed up and taught me through it, but it's really for everybody. And when I said, we're human, but we don't operate as humans do. I think that's in Second Corinthians. It's one of my favorite verses. We're no longer just human. We are in Christ, and there is a an aspect to that releases that human part of the equation and into accepting the spiritual in its entirety.
it's a vehicle. That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's a vehicle. Okay, you're familiar with cars, right?
right.
Okay, cool. I could drive a car, and you could drive a car, and I could make the car do some things that, you know, anybody can do. You could make a car do something that ain't nobody else can make it do. But is it the car that couldn't do it, or is it the driver? So it depends
I
on who
think
you got
it's
driving the
always
car,
the
right?
driver.
So
Yeah,
it depends on who you got driving the car.
yeah.
Okay, good. For a long time, you've been driving like me. When you got Jesus who can drive like you, and you trying to get out of Louisiana and a hurricane's coming. Let's put it like that. That would be as stupid as you putting me to drive to get out of Louisiana running from a hurricane, knowing that you in the drive, you there, and I'm saying, nah, I got this.
I liked how in that moment you just pulled over and said, "Here, babe,
Just
you
be
drive."
done. Look, I know my limit, right? I know my limit. Listen, you can make this car do something I could never make it do. Is the car capable of it? Yes, very
Yes.
capable. Good. So the limiting factor now is me.
Yeah.
If I would just get the heck out the way and let the person who knows how to drive the stinking car, things can happen. I can cover a lot more ground, accomplish a lot more if I would but just give up. Give up. You got Jesus who
Surrender.
could absolutely through life, and you over here driving like you a Pinto driver. And he's looking at you like, you really doing this? Like we really, this is what we're doing now.
Okay. I'll wait until you get to the end of yourself.
I'll wait till you rear end somebody to realize I can't drive this car, man. This is not me.
Oh my
Let the man
gosh.
drive. Let the man drive.
I got
He's
so
better at
mad
it.
a couple years ago. I had called one of my mentors and I was like, Falaki, what? I mean, this is what's going on and this is how I'm feeling. And she's like, Bianca, it sounds like you just need to surrender. Just surrender. And I got so mad at her for saying that. It's not that simple. It cannot be that simple for like you just surrender.
But it is.
I think
But it is.
one of the things that trauma, and I really think one of the things that trauma does is lulls us into this false sense of security and thinking that we control the pieces on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to control the things, because if we don't control the things, everything goes off haywire. But in us controlling the things, all kind of dysfunction shows up, all kinds of mistakes get made, and all kinds of choices that lead to death takes place because we so want to control the thing without fully understanding that we can't even control our eyelids.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you can control your life when you, especially, not that you can't control your life, but especially as a Christian, when we're supposed to cede that control over to
Him.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
pivotal.
and it's worse for women. I believe it's worse for women because for so long we have to control the parts in our lives so that in your family, in your children, in your marriage, and you're running the things, making sure everything functions and runs smoothly. So as a woman, letting go of that kind of control is scary. And not only that, but releasing it and trusting that God could hold that together. Not just God, but that in releasing that control, that stuff is not going to fall off the rails,
Mm-hmm.
So for a long while, that's me. I that grip kind of thing, and instead of being fluid and letting God just do what he's going to do and accept it. And I think this was a conversation that I have been running from, even with God. So to be having it on such a public platform.
It's only a 2x4, remember?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking
Okay.
this was
And what is the body?
right.
What's the purpose of the body? Confess your sins one to another, right? This is the body?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not really public, and it doesn't matter what the world thinks. It's not about them anyway. Somebody who doesn't believe in God could watch this and say what they want to say. This ain't about you. This is about the body. And if you're in a part of the body, that's like talking about my house when you don't belong here. You in part of my house. What? Like your viewpoint matters in my home. This is my home. Ain't nobody talking to you. Look, if anybody who ain't a part of God's body want to come say something about God's body, take it up with the head of the house. Go talk to God about it and tell me what he say. But you ain't gonna want to go talk to him because you know what that's gonna end up like. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. If y'all want to have a problem with what God's body is doing, go talk to God about it. It's not my body. That's his. But what you've seen on the screen is part of my body because I'm head of this house. Now, if you
I
got a
think
problem with my house, now we're going to have a conversation. But outside of that, I ain't got nothing to talk to y'all about.
one of the things that is really in the forefront of my mind right now is the fact that um, God's timing is perfect, and I never wanted to step into ministry and think I'm ministering to God's people, but I'm releasing all of my brokenness and all my hurt intermingled with trying to lead people to healing and being obedient to God. And so I felt like I needed to be whole and healed before I step into this space because I didn't want to spread my trauma, right? I didn't want to spread my brokenness. I didn't want to have my brokenness um, touch what God wanted to do in the woman. I was really fearful about that, and because of that, I used it as a shield to not step into it because to touch this is tough.
Mm-hmm.
To come to this acceptance finally of who God is um is really it shifts your paradigm. in such a way that it's like a snake shedding its skin. It cannot go back into that skin, and in coming to this acknowledgement of who God is and who I am in Jesus, and that whole dynamic, it it leaves no more room for backtracking.
Nope.
It
None.
leaves no more room for gray. It just leaves room for moving forward, trusting that God is going to hold all the parts together because of who He is. And so I used it as an excuse not to step into what He's asked me to do, because I had this fear that I was going to spread my hurt and my all that stuff to people who already carrying their stuff, right? And do more damage than good for them, to them, that kind of thing. Again, trying to control the outcome of my obedience,
Hmm.
trying to control the outcome and people's responses. And wow, we
Yeah.
really like, and I don't know why I never viewed it as such a relief. It is a relief to release control to Jesus. At least right now, that's what I'm feeling. Relieved of pressure, relieved of expectation, relieved of weight that I picked up, not that He gave me to carry. And I always tell myself, I don't want to carry anything God didn't give me to carry. But
Right.
I never wanted to drop the things I was carrying. You understand?
Lonnie said that the cross is only big enough for you to pass through like this.
I love Lonnie.
He said
Oh
you can't
my
go in with your backpack like that. You got to go and drop in everything and walk through. It doesn't have room enough for your backpack. It's bigger than you. So no, you got to come through
oh
by
my
yourself.
gosh.
So
No, this is wow.
it's
I
funny.
totally was not expecting this conversation to go this way, but I am thankful.
Well, I
Thank
expected it
you.
because I knew what God was going to do. So anyway, and I only knew what God was going to do because He's faithful to His word. He
Yeah.
is, and He always will be.
Yeah.
Remember, I told you at the onset, I think you should do it because I think He is going to do something. Remember, I told you that.
Yeah. And I was just
Okay.
like, yo,
All
you're
right.
asking me to what?
Yeah. I'm just asking you to do what you know you're supposed to do because God told you to. That's all. I'm not asking you to do this for me or anybody else. This is for you and Him. And He's going to use you to do something. I keep telling people I'm only a sign, I'm just a vessel. If I can point people to Him, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. He has people that He needs your particular sign on your particular street because people are traversing there to take them to that spot. And if you're not going to be a worthy sign, He's going to make you a worthy sign because He will not let His word come back to Him void. This is about Him. I keep telling people He will use a donkey because He can.
I used to really I used to say this thing, God, I prefer God to use me willingly than to use me as an example in my unwillingness to be obedient. Because either way, my life is going to be a story for somebody to read,
Hmm.
right? And I always wanted to have Him have my cooperation instead of not. But I have not been cooperating with Him. And so He still is using my disobedience. And I'm like, ouch, it hurts, it stings, okay? It stings. It stings.
In any case,
Yeah.
if you ladies out there have been affected by what was spoken and you feel like sharing, please do. Um, when God does something, He does it permanently in Him. In Him. We can always decide that we're not taking it, but in Him it's done. Just remember that the location is a vital thing. Location, location, location.
Yeah.
And it is a matter of us becoming more and more in tune with following than anything else. Um, I don't know what my topic will be tomorrow, but I'm 100% sure I'll be on. Welcome back. Welcome back, Mama. Missed you. Missed you greatly. CJ, missed you. Glad to see you. Um, But we'll be back tomorrow either way. Savage Picture will be on today at 6:30. Don't miss it. We'll be recapping our topic Monday and answering a few questions from the comment section, including the fact that the kid that was on the screen that we covered commented on our video. So that's a
Who is
pretty
that?
big deal. And I invited him on. I don't know if
Oh,
he'll show up or not for another time, but we'll see what happens. It was a pretty cool to see him comment on it. But um, if we do it, I'm still planning to go see Lonnie. But if we do it, it'll probably be later, probably like 2, which is 5 o'clock. So plan on 5 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock. That'll give me enough time to get back to town, I think. And if not, I can always start it on my phone if needs be. But I'm hoping to still have it. Um, if not, we can always plan to do it probably Saturday. So if y'all thoughts about it, I'll put a poll out on the page. Let me know if Saturday will work too. I still want to do it and still want to see Lonnie because I haven't seen Lonnie in forever and I miss my brother. So it just be good. Love y'all, mean it. We'll catch y'all on a different time, different day. Scrolling at the bottom, you know what to do. Don't have to. Just an option there for you guys. Thank you for all that gave super chats to James, Diana, and Lisa. Thank you so very much. Love you guys. We'll catch y'all on the flip side. Wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and know